Hey, how you doing? You alright? I hope you're good. Right, I'm going to jump straight into it. I saw this tweet from Layla Moran. Let's make this a little bit bigger for you. There you go. And it's been sort of really fascinating me. Actually, wait a second. There we go. There we go. Um, I've been thinking on it, and I wrote sort of three different replies to it, and didn't hit send on any of them because Twitter is a terrible, terrible place to have conversations. You can't do it. So I thought I'd jump on a video and do it this way. So what she said is, I'm calling for FTSE 350 companies to have a target of at least 15% of board directors from a BAME background, black and minority ethnic. If you're not British, this is really common in Britain now. It's quite a racist term. It's gonna go the way of coloured fairly soon, I reckon. It's basically anyone that's non-white. It just like BAME could literally be like I think I tweeted this the other day. It could be a rich Japanese person, a poor Mexican, and a Syrian refugee. They're all BAME, all of them. So in terms of looking at the world and looking at data and looking at policy, it is of little to no use, and it's actually just kind of a weird way of saying non-white. I'd respect her more if she said non-white, but whatever. People have slipped into it and they think it's inclusive. And she says it's no longer good enough to pay lip service to these inequalities. Inequalities. I'm going to talk about this in a second. That's why I want to do this video. We have to do something about it. Read more in today's Guardian. And then she goes on. Many companies have been trying, however, I think it hasn't been a high enough priority by a lot of them. Black Lives Matter UK has really enlightened the fact that there is more that could be done, and obviously there's people sort of roasting her and stuff, but I don't want to just jump in on the roast. I want to actually go through the article and go through Layla, if you are watching this, I really hope you are. I'm going to send you this. Please listen to this, because there is an underpinning that I'd love to discuss with you. Actually, if you want to have a conversation about this, this would be amazing. I want to talk about my issue with it, and I want to reason it out. That this is the wrong fight. This is not the fight to be having right now. So here we go. Targets rise in BAME board directors. Now it's very important to know that if you're just looking at basically skin color and country of origin, bear in mind BAME could be black British. Depends how people measure it. So you could be talking about a British person here, literally just with a certain skin color. Or you could be talking about a very wealthy foreign person. She says here, Britain's top companies will be tasked with hiring more boardroom directors from black, Asian and minority ethnic backgrounds, under plans being drawn up by Liberal Democrat leadership candidate Layla Moran. Announcing the policy in the wake of Black Lives Matter protests around the world, the favourite to replace Joe Swinson, as Live Dem later said, companies in the FTSE 350 should have at least 15% of board directors from BAME background. Well, yes, in theory, that's a nice thing to think of. Yeah, fine, whatever, great. This is where we get to the interesting part. The target, which would be voluntary, would mean each firm having at least one BAME boardroom director on average. Let's get to the end of this and I'll go back to that issue. Moran said she wanted businesses to take the lead on the target, which should be met within 5 years, but that failure to make progress would require government intervention. And now this is his problem. There's a contradiction. God, I hate the Guardian for stuff like this. This is why when you write opinion pieces that aren't labelled opinion pieces, if you're going to write news and stick to news, then there would be an underpinning of respectability that would catch something like this. It's not voluntary if it requires government intervention. Government intervention is a gun. Ultimately, that's what it comes down to. It is doing something at the end of a gun. Now, you could say, oh, well, they pass a law, they sign a policy in, blah, blah, blah. But then what happens when you say no? Do you get fined? Do you get a whatever? What happens if you keep saying no? Eventually, you get to a gun. Eventually, because that's what it is. Government is force. So, straight away, you're losing me in saying it was voluntary. And you know what? I could get behind it. I could get behind encouraging companies to do it. Why not? Hey, why don't we do this, guys? Now, here's the thing about the evils of capitalism, okay? Capitalism And if you're a FTSE 350 company or a FTSE 100 company, you are most certainly a capitalist country, profit driven. You do not care about the colour of people's skin. You don't. You care about hiring the best person for the job. You care about who is going to make you the most money. Now, that could be any skin colour. Doesn't matter. Of course there's nepotism. Of course there is. You're never going to stamp it out. Ever. Look at the media industry. Everyone works with the friends and family. Every job on a film I got, it's through a friend, you know? That's just how it works, man. It's how most industry works. To put these targets onto these companies without at any point addressing the issue here, in that if the candidate isn't being hired, it's because the candidate isn't there. If someone's going to improve profits, they're going to get hired. If somebody is improving profits, they're going to be kept. They're going to be promoted. They're going to be incentivized to do so. They are not going to care about the colour of your skin. I promise you that. I absolutely, once you get to this level of business, it is irrelevant. For the most part, anyway. You know, of course, there's people doing it or whatever. But, you know, what worries me here is I don't think Layla has actually spoken to many of these people. I suspect, anyway. But, you know, we can't have it both ways. Either it's the slogans of, like, people, you know, people before profits, or profits before people, or, oh, you know, the economy and all that. It's like, well, you know, either they're just looking at profits and that's their focus, or they're racist bigots that are only hiring people because of the colour of the skin. The two things don't marry up together, unfortunately. And this target of one BAME, how are you going to measure that? What are you going to do? I mean, is a Jewish person an ethnic minority? They've been hit quite hard, and they could do quite well. Or are we just going to ignore that for the purposes of this? It doesn't make sense as a target. Says here, speaking in an interview with The Guardian to unveil the policy move, Moran said businesses need to make efforts to promote BAME representation at the top of the corporate ladder. No, that is completely wrong. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, but that is completely wrong. Who cares? The BBC don't do this. They have targets for gay and black and all sorts and disabled. And what happens? What is the end result of these targets? They're not hiring people like me. Most of my neighbours are what you might call BAME, but they're not hiring them either. We're in a poor area. The BAME person that gets hired for that one job is very likely someone who's been to Oxford, been to Cambridge, been to Yale, and been imported in. If you're talking about the board of directors, what you are fighting for right now, Layla, what this is fighting for is the 1%ers. You are getting behind the 1%ers who happen to be non-white, of which they do exist, by the way, or the 10%ers that happen to be non-white, and pushing them into the 1%. This isn't the fight. This isn't the fight to get you elected. This might be the focus is entirely wrong. Because all you're doing with these boards of directors is just putting all your political eggs into just fighting for people who frankly don't need your help. They're already wealthy. They're already well educated. The issue that I've got with this is this tone and this assumption that BAME people are all sort of poor immigrants who are all oppressed, and it's just nonsense. It is fucking nonsense. The last feature film I worked on, they were ethnic minorities. The directors, they financed it. They flew me to Taiwan. They weren't oppressed minorities. They were from a rich family whose mother was an ethnic minority, who worked for she was like a judge. I can't remember what her job was. She was like the main whatever. She literally had people knocking on her door at night to sign, like, you know, emergency things for the police and stuff like that. She was in a position of authority and power. And the thing about doing BAME targets is it's someone like that who gets the job. And I don't feel bad. If someone is lucky enough to be born into a wealthy family, is lucky enough to go to private schools and have all those wonderful starts in life, and their parents have made the effort to do that for them, good for them. Good. But they don't need you fighting their corner. Layla. They really don't. Right? The problem of this switch and bait thing with like the biggest companies on the planet, the boards of directors, the CEOs, and obsessing over the thing is the vast majority of people don't want that job. Even if they think they want that job, they don't. Most people will dip their toes into like assist management positions and be like, you know what? It's too stressful, man. Most people, and I mean most people, could be on 30 to 40 grand a year and be fine. Absolutely fine. They'll be happy. They don't need you to force them into obsessing over who's got the top job and the colour of the skin of the managerial class. It's irrelevant. Get someone on 40 grand a year and so that they can provide for their family and they can pass on wealth to their family. That's how it works. That's the ideal. Right now in this country, we have got a severe, and I mean severe, lack in engineering. The STEM subjects have been ignored for decades. When we do talk about it, we talk about how it doesn't include women enough, which ironically enough ends up putting women off because you're telling them it's a sexist environment, which is just ridiculous. Not to say you won't meet sexists and misogynists in any line of work. You will. I told you that story before about my girl's an engineer. She works in a workshop. Some dude comes in, starts talking to her like she's the help, like she's a secretary, not knowing that she's in charge of all the ordering, of all the things they need, everything, all the stock. She keeps an eye on that. So once she found out who she was, she just crossed his company out the book. There we go. We don't need government intervention for that. We need autonomy of individual people. His company lost money. They're done now. They won't be ordering. I mean, she's moved on to another workshop now, but these things get remembered, and these things are dealt with appropriately in that manner. It's not systematic. That man was an ass, and now he lost business. Good, fine. That's how it should work. We need builders. We need plumbers. Those jobs pay phenomenally well. If you want to have a conversation with me about lifting people out of poverty, about doing that, sort of creating wealth and all these systematic nonsense, tell them, become a plumber, for God's sake, whilst you're young enough to train for nothing. You can do it through school. We should be pushing people way harder into this stuff around the GCSE level, man. People should be able to fully grasp engineering GCSEs, and I know that there's things along those lines a little bit here and there, but nothing even close to it. We can identify at these young ages. You want to talk to me about inequality and BAME representation? It isn't obsessing over who's owning the business or who's the big boss. Yeah? This is why Boris Johnson is winning. This is why he wins. He'll trend Boris the Butcher, all that nonsense, right? But this is it, man. You need to tell someone that if they're going to work on a building site, they're going to have a nice house, they're going to have a car, they're going to be able to take care of their family. And that's what people want. It really is. I wish someone had sat me down at 18 or all the chaos and shit and said, you know what? Just get a fucking electronics qualification or some nonsense like that. Like just do it. You can faff about making films, blah, 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 blah. But just do something like this. You're set for life. And you are set for life. I did a quick search. Just Manchester. Okay, this is 15 miles around Manchester. These jobs today that are coming up, just added 40 to 55 pounds per annum. A lot of these come with cars as well, by the way. A lot of them. 44 to 55 again. We've got 28 to 35 in Manchester. That would see you right. None of these have got prices on them. 35 to 45, 34 to 36. Electrical maintenance engineer. This isn't, a bridge engineer. There's one of the early ones was a swimming pool, commercial swimming pool engineer. There you go, 30 grand a year to work on swimming pools. There's another bridge one, the HGV technician, 30 to £5,000 a year. Jesus Christ, even a train cleaner is going to get you £10 or £11 an hour. There's a lot of people who'd be very, very happy cleaning trains on 10 or, oh my God! Gas engineer, you're looking at £50,000 per annum, plus overtime and call out, plus you're going to be getting a vehicle in that, man. The vast majority of people who aren't narcissistic, who aren't obsessed with power and race and all these struggles, the vast majority of people, you could put them on 50 grand a year and they're going to be happy. They're going to find themselves in a very stable relationship on the back of that kind of money coming in. And then he or she that's taking care of the kids can be working part-time, can be following the dreams, can be following the passions like I'm lucky enough to be able to do. And that's where we should be focusing. We are desperate at the moment. Desperate. And it all comes down to education and motivation. But we're so busy demonizing capitalism and having a go at like the working class, you know, just putting them down. But this is the working class, man, and obsessing over the colour of the skin of the bosses. People need to know. People need to explain to kids in clear terms that if you want to easily be on 40 grand a year, you can do it with just 2 years training. And the best part is the government will cover it for you. Why not? Hey? Why not? We could do reasonable loans, get rid of this nonsense with student loan schemes that just props up bloated, ridiculous companies. No. Do it like that American company. There's a phenomenal university in America. Once you qualify, once you finish qualifying, you do your electrician's course or whatever it might be. We take 14% of your wages for 2 years. That's how you do it. So you know from the start, it's on them to get you a good job, 50 grand a year. Because then they're going to, you know, how much are they going to get out of you then? £14,000? Something, you know, a decent amount of money, enough to work on, enough to pay your wages, enough to keep administration low, enough to keep things focused, enough for you to recommend that school to other places. Get rid of this student loans nonsense. It doesn't work. It incentivizes completely the wrong side of it. And Layla, please, stop fighting for the 1%. You're not going to win any elections on the back of it. You might win it within the Lib Dems, but nobody's going to care about you. Look, this is what's winning. He knows the mood of the country. He knows how well these jobs pay. He knows that every day young people discover this and they start work on a construction company. I mean, we're so desperate for housing at the moment that they're paying phenomenal rates. There aren't enough builders. Full stop. There's just not enough. We're having to get them from abroad. We have to. And it's not like other sectors where it's just the cheap labour. No, we're paying more. We're at the point where we're begging them now. This isn't, we're well beyond the days of like cheap Polish labour. No, they're going back to Poland now, because Poland had a shortage and they're paying enough so that these people can go back to their families. They can go back home, and they are doing. For God's sake, look at Boris Johnson. Objectively, step away, get rid of your hate and your propaganda and all your nonsense about the Tories, and just look what he's doing. There's a reason he puts that high vis on. There's a reason he sits there. There's a reason he makes himself look like a total idiot for these photo opportunities. And it's not because of the colour of the skin of the top 1%. Nobody cares. Right. I'm going to boogie anyway. Thanks so much. Guys, there should be links in the description if you want to drop us a PayPal or get on our Patreon or anything else that you want. Please do. I do appreciate it. If me and Hayden in these videos give your life value and you feel that value should be compensated, then please drop us a couple of dollars, man. More than appreciated. If not, that's fine, man. Just keep watching, keep sharing, keep liking, all the rest of it. I'll see you guys in a bit anyway. I love you loads. Bye-bye.